Hey guys, this is Brad from the Wealth Motivation channel. So here we're going to be doing a book review this week, and it's going to be The Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. So far in this book, what we've experienced is the step-by-step strategy of how Robert Kiyosaki became wealthy, how he became well off. And the biggest thing that we should take away from the beginning of this is I think that people have a major misunderstanding of assets versus liabilities. And so the biggest problem that I see with a lot of people is they have no idea what the difference is between these. Many people in today's day and age still think that their house is an asset. No, it's not. I hate to burst your bubble, but it's not. So, I mean, I want to have a house in the future, but I want to be able to pay for it completely, like no mortgage, no nothing. Like, honestly, that's what I would prefer. But with him, what he's basically saying is understand cash flow and what is an asset, what is a liability. And just to give you a few ideas of what an asset is, it would be like a house that you rent out, or apartment complex is my favorite because I would love to invest in apartment complexes. A house that you flip, wholesale, stocks, bonds, options, cryptocurrency trading, stuff that's going to give you a return, something that's going to give you more money in the future. So that is an asset. A liability is like, I'm going to buy a car, I'm going to buy a house. Yeah. But, or like per se you invent something and you sell it to another company and get a licensing deal, and you have multiple licensing deals, you're going to get a check every month for that. So it's just stuff like that. And so that's one of the biggest things I think that we should be taking from the Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. So far, I'm about a little over a quarter of a way through this book. It's a very, very good read. I highly recommend it. He talks about how, in the beginning, his dad played Monopoly. His rich dad. So he had a rich dad and he had a poor dad. His poor dad, went through, one of the straight A students was like the president of the Board of Education for the state of Hawaii and all this other fun stuff. And so his dad's like, get good grades, make a lot of money, like all this other stuff. It's just like, to a degree, like if you want to pursue a career, like you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, you want to be a nurse, if you want to go have a job and have a career, hey, all the power to you, all of it. Because those are very noble fields. And if you want to be a teacher, hey, that's very noble too, because lots of people couldn't put up with a bunch of irritable kids. Anyway, but yeah. So, but for the people who think, oh, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and I'm going to be rich. That might be the case. Like, I'm not saying that it can't happen, because I do know some very well-off people that have gone into really good professions. But the problem is a lot of people start to rely on one flow of income. They forget, hey, I might want to create a second flow, a third flow, a fourth flow. Lots of people like Robert Kiyosaki, Grant Cardone, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, all of these other guys, they all have multiple flows of income. They don't just have one, they have multiple flows. And so, generally speaking, a millionaire will probably have about 7 different flows of income. And so, if you want to be a multi-millionaire, and Grant Cardone, I watch a lot of his videos, I've read several of his books. One of the other books I will be reviewing later on is the 10x rule. And we'll also be reviewing his guide, the Millionaire Booklet. We'll be reviewing those. So, but for right now, Robert Kiyosaki, sorry I got off track, ladies and gentlemen, but Robert Kiyosaki, his thing is, the one thing that his starting foundation, his education, was the game of Monopoly. You know, 4 houses, 1 hotel. 4 houses, 1 hotel. And having people land on your space and they owe you money, and that's how you win the game, is you own all the properties. And so your assets are going to be paying you monthly generally. There are some that pay quarterly, there are some that pay bi-quarterly, you know, lots of different things. But one thing that he likes to look at is real estate. You know, buy houses. You know, he generally doesn't flip them. He generally holds them and rents them out. So, yeah. So what he's going to do is, I think his last video that I watched, he had like 6,500 properties or 6,500 units. And that's a lot. And the biggest thing is you want assets. His assets are generally real estate, his game cash flow, and, you know, numerous others. So just to start out this week, we'll be doing many more videos. We're going to be going in depth into this book and discussing everything about it. Like the chapter I'm reading right now is The Magic Mistakes. It's going to be going in depth of what might happen, what could happen, and how to go about fixing them. Also, the last one that I read was financial literacy. And a lot of people, like when you go to get a loan, and especially when you get into bigger projects, like per se, you go to, I don't know, buy a bunch of units for an apartment complex. Your bank is going to be looking at your financial literacy and your credit statement. So they're going to be looking at your balance sheet, your income statement, your income and expenses, assets versus liabilities. You're going to be looking at a lot of stuff. And so you want to become really well diversed in your financial literacy. And the other thing that people don't focus on, especially in education today, which is what he points out a lot, is in today's education, they make it so you don't have to do anything. Like, you go out and get a job, you pay taxes, all this other fun stuff. He breaks it down of how you can reduce the risk through financial literacy and fully understand how to become wealthy, how to pay virtually little to no taxes, and yeah, how to be like, hey, I made $1 million, I don't pay any tax on it because it's considered debt. And that's another thing we're going to be going into, is when people hear debt, they're like, oh my goodness, it's debt. And it's like, dude, there's good debt and there's bad debt. Good debt would be like, per se, you bought an apartment complex, you put 20% down to acquire this property, and let's just say, you know, your payments are X amount per month, and you're getting X amount per month in rent, and you're just paying down your assets, paying down the debt. And some people like, you know, one door, you know, a house. Some people like duplexes, quadplexes, so on and so forth. I'm gonna try and skip that as much as I can. I would like to get, you know, 40 some units and have it do its own, and then eventually flip it. But yeah, so there's lots more that we're going to be covering in this book. One of the Future chapters is the sophisticated investor, the inside investor, the ultimate investor, how to get rich quick. You know, there's just so many different things. And then there's the quadrant that says you're an entrepreneur. You're actually, what it is the quadrant says employee, self-employed, business, investor. And you generally, if you want to pay little to no taxes, be a business owner or a sophisticated investor. So that's what we're covering. That's just the intro for this week, and I hope that you all tune in to get more in-depth, in which I will be going more in-depth on the first bit of what I did read in this book. And again, this is Rich Dad's Guide to Investing by Robert Kiyosaki. That's him right there. And I want you to join me on the journey to creating wealth. I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm not wealthy. I am just starting out. Graduated from college a little bit ago. And I want you to come along on my journey. I want you to message me and be like, hey, I made my first 100,000. Hey, I made my first 10,000. I want you to understand that we're all on this journey to become wealthy. And this is why I created the Wealth Motivation channel, to help you get a firm foundation and be motivated to push yourselves to the next level. Anyway, have a good one, guys. If you have any questions, just message me or DM me.